The sound of Sarah's footsteps echoed through the deserted alleyway of the small town of Hillsville. She had been walking home from her late shift at the local diner, her heart pounding in her chest as she realized she was being followed. She had always been warned not to walk alone at night, but she had never thought it would happen to her. She had always believed that she was invincible, that nothing bad could happen to her. But now, as she glanced over her shoulder at the looming figure behind her, she realized just how wrong she had been. The man was tall and imposing, his face shrouded in darkness. Sarah couldn't see his features, but she could feel his eyes on her, watching her every move. She quickened her pace, but the man only seemed to get closer. Panic set in as she realized she was completely alone, with no one around to help her. Suddenly, the man lunged at her, grabbing her by the arm and pulling her into a nearby alley. Sarah screamed, but no one came to her rescue as the man dragged her deeper into the shadows. The world around her began to blur as tears streamed down her face. She knew what was going to happen next, and the thought terrified her. The man pushed her up against the wall of the alleyway, his breath hot on her neck. Sarah struggled against him, but his grip was too strong. He began to whisper in her ear, his words filled with malice and hate. He told her all the things he was going to do to her, in graphic, horrifying detail. Sarah felt sick to her stomach as she listened, knowing that she was powerless to stop him. The man's hands moved over her body, groping and grabbing at her. Sarah tried to fight back, but it was useless. The man was too strong, too determined. She felt a sharp pain in her side as he plunged a knife into her flesh, causing her to cry out in agony. The man only laughed as he continued to assault her. Eventually, Sarah's world went black. When she woke up, she was in a dark, dank basement chained to a wall. She looked around trying to get her bearings, but everything was pitch black. She felt a cold breeze brush against her skin, sending shivers down her spine. She tried to cry out for help, but her voice was hoarse and weak. The man stood before her, holding a bloody knife in his hand. He smiled at her, his eyes cold and lifeless. "You're mine now," he said, "and I'm going to make sure you never forget it." Sarah knew that she was in for a long and terrifying ordeal. She had been taken, and there was no telling what this man was going to do to her. She closed her eyes, hoping that she would wake up and find that it was all just a bad dream. But the cold metal of the chains around her wrists and ankles told her that this was all too real.